Sorry I look a little bit messy and wild today. We had an unexpected fire drill, so that's fun and fresh. But Module 6, performance based funding, and we had to come up with um, another advantage and disadvantage. So I know sometimes it can be a sensitive topic. I personally am not a fan of performance based funding, but I can understand why it's utilized. So I guess one of the positives of our advantages of performance based funding is, I mean, it does provide more funding access for various programs in schools to aid students in success. So it can help with different, needs based programming. I mean, the list really is endless. But what I really dislike about performance based funding is I truly don't think it's a real measure of success. And I say that because this is a again, I don't know much about my new institution, but my old institution, a prime example of that was um, when we were trying to raise the head count, and we were focusing on getting um, our numbers up. And so, we had faculty and staff and everybody enrolling, taking a class. It was paid for because we worked there. And then we got the COVID stimulus back. And so, what that did was A, bumped our head count up. B, we were earning success points because the people that were in these courses were college ready. They had already completed, all of these courses, all of these milestone markers that are required um, for um, for the funding. And I mean, and then at the end of the day, they just took an online walking class. So I think that there have been ways for people to kind of work the system when it comes to performance based funding. But also, it's just, it's not, performance based funding is one thing, but when you get down to a nitty gritty level of, teachers basically have been told in districts, like, how your students do on the STAR test is going to determine, like, how much you make. That's terrifying. Because we all know that standardized testing isn't necessarily the best way to determine one's intelligence or their knowledge. And, it's just like the SAT, just like the ACT. It's how were you doing on that one day that you took this one test. And not everybody is a great test taker. I mean, I'm a prime example of that. I have severe anxiety, and um, I've never in my life been a good test taker. And so, if you were to probably pull up my GRE scores from 6 years ago, I probably look like a total idiot because I just started to panic. And it's this sense of, like, the walls are closing in on you. Oh my God, you're a failure. You're terrible. And so I just think that basing people's livelihood, at the end of the day, it's what it is sometimes, their livelihood on performance of another human being, something that they truly cannot control, it's not fair. It's not fair. Now, am I saying that I know the answer and I know exactly what should happen? Absolutely not. I have no clue. Um, I know for us at Lone Star, we are moving towards focusing. We always everybody focuses on the head count, like, what's our enrollment at, but what we really need to focus on is the inclusion and retention aspect of it, um, along with their persistence rates. And um, one of the big things they're really pushing is also trying to get everybody to graduate, because graduation rates are important, but again, that is something else that we can't exactly um, we can't guarantee, because some students, a lot of our students I mean, most of our students transfer out and go to a 4 year. And if they choose to do that prior to graduation, that's their prerogative. So if we don't get success points for that, that's not anything that we can do. Um, but I just don't think that it's human nature. You can't control humans. My dean one time told me you can't control humans and you can't control the weather. And once he told me that, I really kind of started to let go of certain things that would bother me whenever I would be, like, planning activities or things of that nature, because it's true. And that's the same to be said, that you cannot, um, you can't depend on a human doing, a certain thing or behaving a certain way. And so taking performance based funding and saying, okay, you're only going to make XYZ amount of money or get this money if your students perform at this level. And sometimes, especially at the community college level, we don't always end up with the highest achieving students. Don't get me wrong, we do have amazing students who want to be here because of some of our programs and because of our transfer rates into places like UT, A&M, UH. But there's a lot of times that we get students that are, they're not TSI complete, they're not TSI ready. And so giving success points based on, oh, you came in TSI complete, great. That's it, it's not exactly a fairly balanced system. And while I came from an area that was like obviously highly populated with very low income students, here where I'm at is so strange because you have the Woodlands, which is like, the campus is basically right in the middle of the Woodlands, which has College Park High School, the Woodlands High School, very affluent, very wealthy neighborhood. But we are also in Montgomery County that houses, Montgomery and other more rural areas. And so there's this huge disparity with the caliber of students that we see. And so it's not fair that we are not going to get funding to help these students to succeed and to do better because they didn't come to us TSI complete. That goes back to a text that I've read, live, eat, breathe, die, tell people about all the time, Becoming a Student Ready College by Tia Brown McNair. It is such a simple concept of we need to meet our students where they're at, not vice versa. But performance-based funding can really hinder that. We don't need to say, what do you need to do to be college ready? Which, I mean, that's the mentality most of us grew up with. But now it's, what are we doing? Because we know that the type of students we work with, it changes. It changes all the time. But we need to know, what are we doing to get to where, okay, this is what we're going to do to get you where you want to be. And that means assessing and adjusting. And unfortunately, if it's based off of performance, the school could suffer financially, because they're just trying to help. It just kind of seems counterintuitive. I could probably go on for much longer, but I'll stop there. And I really can't wait to hear what everybody else has to say, because I do like hearing all the different points of view, because I'm not a genius. I'm not an end all be all know all. Like, I'm very, very much aware that there's a lot of things I still need to learn. So I look forward to hearing everybody's.